Well, that's why I prefaced it with work. I mean, I'm coming from the angle of, obviously I'm from the UK, and it seems like the Anglican Church has done a very good job of taking God out of religion. There's a lot of people, they don't have the Bible-believing kind of fundamentalist.
Right, and I might be nitpicking about terminology because when somebody talks, when we talk about what religion is not anything that is necessarily tied to a god. It is a collection of principles, instructions, tenets, rituals that people participate in. I guess it might be worthwhile adding with no distinct connection to reality. To distinguish it from just being, a football fan or something, But
my question was more hypothetical, that if you were to engineer something with the goal of weaning people off of religion over a generation or two, because it seems there are certain people that are unable to make this leap once they've been indoctrinated, I just wondered what kind of features you might put into it as a halfway kind of step towards rationalism.
Well, I've often said that I'm in favor of taking the good from religion and leaving the bad, taking the good from anything and leaving the bad. And so the sense of community that's built within religious organizations, but I don't think that is a product of religion. I think that's the product of the people involved. There's nothing, as a matter of fact, if you look at, for example, Christianity, it's a very divisive religion. At face value, if you looked at the Bible and the history and everything else, it's a divisive religion. The communities that have been built out of that religion have been built by people, good people, who, like anybody else, want to live in a more peaceful, happy, cooperative environment and are encouraging that in other people. And that's the sort of thing that I would encourage and focus on truth. The application of critical thinking, the evaluation of evidence, and the truth never has anything to fear from inquiry. So let's sit around and ask questions. And if our beliefs, no matter how treasured they may be, do not withstand the critical examination, then you leave them behind. And that would be like the first and only tenet, the first and only dogma of the transitional religion that we're hypothesizing about is thou shalt not cling to claims that are unsupported.
Right.
Except for this one.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. What would you do, Dave? Thanks, Mark. Or would you?
I'm not quite sure what the goal is. I mean, if you set up any organization, you could come up with something that's a little less extreme than religion, but still a religion.
Right.
A little less extreme than Christianity, but still a religion. And as soon as you do that, you've created something that's going to want to perpetuate itself. So I'm not even clear that the idea of even the hypothetical idea of building an organization that's in between, that would be a bridge, would function as a bridge instead of just being a new place to catch a bunch of people and maybe not being quite as bad. I could certainly think of religions that are not quite as bad as the ones that are popular nowadays, but.
Yeah. And
but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for pointing out the problems with the ones we do have.
Yeah.
I'm actually against it when I see religions changing and adapting in order to persist, because I'd like them to go away.
Yeah. On the one hand, I mean, okay, we're really happy that all those fine Christian people have been dragged kicking and screaming away from their Bronze Age, enslave your neighbor and kill everybody who's different from you roots, and become a little more palatable to people with decent moral sensibilities. But that's a half step. I mean, okay, I'll give you partial credit for doing that. But all you've really done, as Jeff pointed out, is make a third bucket for somebody to fit in. And by the way, you don't have any of the authoritative standing that your more fundamentalist cousins do. Oh, we're gonna disregard these elements of our holy book and focus on these elements. Okay, what gives you the right to do that? Well, just because Jesus loves us and said we can do that. it's, there's a reason why you have thousands of denominations or more than 1,000 denominations that all call themselves Christian and all disagree on every possible point of dogma. And I don't know that, as a matter of fact, I'd agree with Jeff that there's a good argument to be made that you can't bridge that. You're just creating different buckets to put people into. I don't know. We've got, is it Janetta?
Yes, it's Janetta.
Janetta in Akron, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine.
Hi. I'm an atheist. I'm a black atheist. And recently, actually last year around December, I actually became an atheist, and it became kind of hard for me. I made a YouTube. I didn't really know who to talk to. I just wanted to know, what do you think about the shortage of black Americans being atheists? Why is it so hard?
Boy, wouldn't you know that better than us?
I mean, I don't know. I've tried to figure it out, but it just seems like white people are more open for some reason.
Huh. So maybe your question to us should be, why does it seem like it's so much easier for white people? But again, not really having your experience to compare mine to, I don't really know.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. We actually had some calls a month or two ago when we were still doing the show from my place, where we talked about why there don't seem to be as many black atheists. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. Maybe there's just as many when you consider relative population sizes, but there's not as many outspoken, which just changes the question as to why are there fewer outspoken. I don't know. I could guess about some things. I'd feel really bad. You're getting near dangerous territory of stereotyping. We've talked before about the kind of the possibility that all religion is some form of Stockholm syndrome, because it's always been absurd to me that the African American community would embrace the religion that enslaved them and took away their identities. And there's been a backlash about that on some fronts. And yet black Christian churches in America are some of the strongest, proudest, most vocal. And I think that it takes a long time to get past the mistakes. So the racist mistakes, the abusive mistakes, the civil rights mistakes that were made that we're gradually starting to correct. I can easily see a future where, not only is this not an issue, but it may be an issue the other direction. It's hard to guess at what the causes may be. I do know that at least among, I couldn't even say that. I was going to say that the black communities are tighter in some senses, and that may be true for some communities and not for others. I think it may be unfair to characterize it based on race or anything else. So I don't have a good answer. I'm as baffled as anybody else.
Hey, Janetta?
Uh-huh.
I thought I heard at when you started, we first started talking, that you hinted that there were some obstacles that you faced in becoming an atheist, or what has been your experience?
Pretty much, when I turned 18 June 2008, and yeah. I went to college. I started taking philosophy courses and stuff like that. And I just pretty much came to a realization. And then after the realization, I had to, figure out, should I tell my parents? How do I tell my parents?
Yeah, that's tough for us too.
Yeah, they eventually found out, but yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like it was much more hardcore, among the people that I talked to. But yeah, I understand what you guys are saying.
Yeah, well, yeah. My parents were at the time when they found out about me, both Christian ministers. So, it was difficult. And I know Matt's family are very religious. Are you familiar with some of the bigger names in atheism who happen to be African American, like Reginald Finley?
I'm not.
Reginald Finley He has done a podcast for years. I know he's still doing some kind of show. You might want to look him up on the internet. And is Neil deGrasse Tyson an atheist?
He is, by my definition. Out of everything I've ever seen him say, I don't know if he identifies himself with that label or not.
Is he an astrophysicist? Is that his field? Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson is also prominent. So it could also be that it's not quite as bad as you think, and it might just take a little looking around.